Okay, welcome back. Finally got some project I've been working on for too long done. Got all that video off my phone and cleared up so I have the storage space and the time and the energy to start a new project. I was of course going to build a couple more single speeds because that's fun. I've got the Specialized Expedition I got the other day with the Dynamo wheeled Tiagra 10-speed group with the flat bars. I want to do that. Put it off. I got the old 1960 Allegro with the cool Nervex lugs and stuff that I want to do a 650B mod on. I got the Terry I want to do 650B. I got lots of projects. But I've also got this paramount. And one of my loyal viewers, of which there are 3, keeps saying, hey, you should do that paramount. Hey, you should do that paramount. So I'm like, okay, it's time. I just pulled it out. I haven't cleaned it yet. I haven't really inspected it. We're going to do that. And I got to see if I even have all the parts I want for it. I think this is like an early 90s paramount. From what I understand, oversized tubes, really kind of fancy lugs. This should have been made at Waterford Cycles for Paramounts. It's a handmade in the USA frame. Waterfords are very cool. It was kind of ugly fork crown, but that was really the style at the time. People are still into the style. It's a lot lighter than like a big heavy, you know, cast-in lug and then sticking your tubes into. It's got some dings and chips. It's no big deal. Here's where the chain always drops, so the chain rings will hit if the bottom bracket's all dead and people still try and ride. The paint's chipped off, but there's no, you drag your finger across it, there's no damage to the metal at all. It's got some ugly paint chips up here. This one's the grossest. Just kind of a little rusty. Series 7 PDG Paramount. It's got the Schwinn sticker on here, which they continue to use up to this present day, so it kind of makes it look like a Walmart bike, which is hilarious. When I got this bike, it had some 165 Schwinn 600 cranks on it, like the tri-bar, the tri-color era, the first year of Altegra, like very cool cranks. I think it had a front derailleur. I think it had down tube shifters. I don't remember. It didn't have much. So I stripped all that stuff off. This is a nice handmade frame with good tubings in America, so I'm assuming it's 27.2 seat post, but I haven't checked. It's got internal cable routing, so I left this piece of housing in. If you've seen it in my videos on how to do cable and housing, sometimes there's a whole tube in here, usually there isn't. Leaving an old piece of housing in will make life a million times easier. I stick a dead cable into this housing, stick the new fresh housing onto that, so the cable's conjoining the two. Then you can push the whole thing through and get rid of the dead cable and this dead piece of housing. And we'll do it. It's got a 105 headset on it, like very 8-speedy, 7 and 8-speed era, I think. It could be 5 or 6 speed. Ooh, 105 Paramount. Here's the kind of rusty, crusty chips on the top. Not too bad. It's a little ding over on this side, probably from the handlebars whipping around. But also not too bad. I always feel frames here and here. You try to feel a little ripple or a bubble. That's from a front end collision and it'll damage these tubes. And some guys are like, oh, it's fine. And then some guys try to ride a bike like that, and the second you hit a pothole or a minor, you know, a curb that's a little too tall, you don't bunny hop it, you hit it directly or whatever, the whole frame will just crumple. I've also had guys that had those on old bikes and they rode those bikes for a decade, never had another problem. But technically it would be impaired and I wouldn't be able to sell a bike. The crumpled tube, especially a super lightweight race bike with fancy tubes, because it's going to be extra light. It's got a State College PA sticker on it. Paramount Precision Butted Tubes from Tongay. That's all it says. The blades say Paramount Precision Butted Steer Tube and Blades. Because there's no crown. Okay, that's all the tubes. It's got built-in under cable guides. Built into this weird bottom bracket shell I've never seen before. It's all bubbly and balloony. This is probably really early oversized stuff. Checking the inside of the stays where the tires hit. If your wheel's out of true, you broke a spoke, or you're trying to run too fat of a tire, which everyone does now. Stop trying to run too fat of tires. It's not cool for your bike. Frames flex as you ride, especially when you're standing and climbing. Wheels flex, spokes flex, tires flex, and deflect. It'll zap all the paint. Can you see that right there? Barely. It'll zap the paint off, but it will cut right through your your frames. I've had 2 wrecked frames recently where the tube was hacksawed all the way through from tire rub. And these tubes are like usually 8.5, so like 5/10 down here are thinner, and as they get bulged out, they're about 8/10 of a millimeter. So I mean, it's not thick, man. Like, it does not take much to structurally compromise a bike and have it fail on you. But this one's fine. It's just buzzed through the paint. The metal's totally cool. There's no actual damage. I like to check around bridges and things for cracks. You can definitely see there's some runs in the paint, and there might be a little rust forming under the paint. If this was a really high-end bike and I want it to be real high-end, put high-end parts on it, I would probably say it needs to be repainted, but it's not. It is a totally cool bike. It's a little scruffy and chipped, and all the parts are a little scruffy and chipped, and we're building a rider, not a show queen. I mean, nothing's jumping out at me. I'm going to say, you know, it's good to check with the dropouts. Dropouts like to crack right here at the joint with the tube. It's a real common spot from the... These are Tongay TR dropouts. I've never seen those before. Oh yeah, look at this thick fucking bubble in the clear coat. It's like a drip coming off. This thing looks so shiny. I've seen that with powder coat too. They try and clear over the powder. It's just too thick and drips. But so good. I think some of these blemishes are paint thickness and drips and runs, and not rust bubbling up underneath the surface, which would have to be addressed. Because then you get like weird cancer spots underneath the paint. The paint holds all that moisture and rust to the tube, and will make it rust out way faster and way harder than if you just have an exposed spot. Which is fine. I'm going to rub a little grease on an exposed spot. I put bikes into bare metal and shot them with WD-40 and like a Scotch-Brite sponge and rubbed it in, and rode those bikes for decades and they never rusted. Looks like some ugly TIG welds on the inside to hold these tubes in place before brazing. I see no brazing material at all. Nice job, Waterford. Totes sketch, bro. I like to see that brazing material come up and blob out. Sure can't. Sure can't. It's probably fine. Huh. I can see some on this tube. See some of these joints. The main tubes are brazed in pretty nice. These staves might be a little sketch, but they're probably fine. Most old bikes are actually brazed pretty sketch. Alright, so the next step is going to be to clean this bike. Just soap and water and get it a little clean. I'll just do it here in the stand and maybe hit it with a little cheap dollar store polish I got. Because it's a pretty shiny, nice paint job. Next, I have some wheels. I think they are good. I don't know if I've checked them for round or true yet. These are 600 tricolor hubs in really nice shape. To some Wobbler, GTX, blah blah blah, Wobbler reinforced. Some nice little double-walled rims. They're the gray hard ano, which I love. These things last forever. This front one, the ano is not even worn halfway through at all. This thing will last thousands and thousands of miles and decades. If the nipples aren't frozen or too corroded or anything. But I feel like I checked them when I got them and they were round and true and the hubs were real smooth. But since this is going to be a total overhaul, I'm going to make sure they're round and true. I'm going to make sure the spokes all have perfectly even tension. And I'll probably open these guys up and, at a minimum, you know, make sure they look good and squirt some grease in. But with an overhaul, I like to put some brand new bearings in and all brand new grease. Usually, unless they're perfect. And this is the rear. It's the same matching Shimano 600 tricolor hub. Ooh, look at the tricolor dust caps. It says Shimano and 600 on it. I think these are earlier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Hyperglides. So it's not the weird earlier Uniglide with the lock ring. It's the Hyperglide with a little normal cassette style locking dude. But it is 7-speed only. This rim has slightly more wear to the ano, but it is still not worn through. It still looks great. This hub is also totally buttery smooth. It's a trick you can do with these. I'm not sure if I'm gonna. You can sometimes find these small barrel. So you notice how the barrel's all skinny and pretty and modern. Barrels are all big and ugly. You can sometimes find these small barrel hubs from about the same era. You can find the 8-speed ones. I've done this before. I might have a couple here, so I might do it. I might. We'll see. You can take the cassette off, take the cassette body off, take the axle out, and swap out the wider 8-speed axle and cassette body. And I think you usually want to use the 8-speed cassette cone to make sure it matches. Then we could reuse these cones and spacers off this, and we could make this a 130 spaced. This is either 126 or 130, I'm not sure yet, I haven't checked. Let's see if it fits in this frame. Oh yeah, this is a 126 space and this frame is 130, so god, maybe we might swap this out to that 8-speed body. Because I ain't shoving wheels that are too small into a frame. People do that before. Stuff wheels that are too big or stuff wheels that are too small and pinch the frame. And that causes frames to crack and pop up here or at the bridge, but usually up here at the seat stay cap. I don't do that. Everything should just fit nicely and pinch down. Not too tight, not too loose. So that might be a thing. I think I have an 8-speed 600 hub of the same era. That feels grindy, so the bearings might be dead, so I'll have to look and see if it's savable. I think I have an RX100 hub from this era that's 8-speed, so maybe it'll have a good cassette body that'll match. Sometimes the cassette bodies have different machining on the inside, so not all of them are interchangeable with all of them, so you have to find one from the same era, pull them apart, and make sure they actually work. And I have not done this since like probably 2008 or 9, so it's been a while. So it could be a thing, but I think we might be doing that. Or we could build this up with more modern parts or do, you know, something weird and cool. But the 600 parts would be cool. It'd be pretty era correct. It'd be cooler. Here is my box of 600 parts. So, we're playing my laundry room workbench. These are 172 5s with a 42-52 rings that look like 80% good life. They got good bolts. Here's the matching 172 5. This is my 600 stuff that's like leftovers from like 3 or 4 other partial bikes I bought. I decided to save these parts instead of put them on eBay, because this day would come. Here is the set of 165s that came off this bike. The rings look a little bit roached. They have some shift wear on this big ring. It's not as bad as it looks. It's mostly dirt. It's got a little 39 tooth. It's got some wear. These cranks are a little bit more scruffy. Got some heel rub and stuff. But they're 165s. I think this bike's little. I'm gonna measure it again, but probably stay at the 165s. I'd love to put 170s on, but all I have is these 172.5s, and that feels too long for a little bike. What else we got in this bag? We got a nice set of the 8-speed era dual pivot brakes. They barely have any surface rust. They got the dual pivots, so they're way more stoppy. I just don't put vintage single pivots on bikes. I just don't do it anymore. Things turn. They got the original pads. They're not even that worn out. I will not use the original pads because they are old and hard and will not stop. Here's the front. They're both recessed. This bike's definitely recessed. So front and rear, they're not scuffy. They're pretty nice. I had like 5 or 6 of these derailleurs. I sold the scuffiest ones and I saved this one because it has like no shift wear at all. I don't think it came off this bike. I don't actually remember. But this thing is like pretty minty. Front derailleur. I got the bottom bracket in here. 3-piece. I think this is the wrong bottom bracket. This is a chromo spindle with, I think, the right just generic Shimano cups and generic Shimano center. Got the little chromey dust caps. There's plastic. Off a different bike here, I think is the correct. No, this is just a generic Shimano one that's in silver. And generic Shimano cups and stuff. So 2 generic Shimano silver bottom brackets are probably fine. Might have been stock. I've definitely seen these come with ones that actually say Shimano 600 on the bottom bracket spindle, and they're the dark gray. I saved the nicest rear derailleur. Probably sold 2 or 3 kind of scruffy ones on eBay. So the nicest, most cosmetically pretty rear derailleur. Ooh. A Shimano 600 headset. which I have not checked to see if it's ISO or JIS or if it'll fit this or not. I'm just assuming all this stuff will fit. That's why I've been hot about this build, because it was missing stuff. Like a pretty clean set of Shimano. I mean, like, these parts are worth more than this bike. What I normally do is buy a bike like this and pull it all apart and sell the nice parts, then build it up with other random stuff into a cool single speed or city bike or whatever. I'm going to finish this bike and people are going to be offering me like $200, $300 for it all day long. And I'll be like, dude, I could have got like 70 bucks for these levers. I could easily get 60 or 70 for each set of these cranks. Get 50 for those brakes. Like, I could make way more money parting it out. But sometimes some things aren't about making money. They're about doing cool stuff. And so I'm going to use 3 different bikes worth of used good-looking parts to kind of restore one old scruffy bike and hope someone thinks it's cool. Makes it's not a waste of time, because it's not my size, so I won't keep it or ride it. So pretty nice SLR Shimano brake levers, really nice hoods, and here's going to be something possibly a deal breaker. One set of Shimano 600 down tube shifters. I think they might only be 7-speed, which would be silly to change the hub over to 8-speed. I wouldn't do, except the frame's spaced for it. So I might change this over to 8-speed and then use a 7-speed to 8-speed spacer. So it'll still be an all 7-speed bike, even though I went through all the trouble of changing the set over to 8-speed to fit the frame. Could respace the frame, but that's stupid. 130 is the truth. Why? Don't do weird stuff. So I'm going to bolt these shifters on, and we're going to count some clicks. Ooh, oh, this is the wrong shift plate adapter. This one's totally flat, and this needs to be curved. So this probably came off a carbon fiber Specialized. It'll work. I won't do it for the long run because it doesn't look right. I'll put some curved ones on, but mechanically it works fine. Okay, so we're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 in a dead spot. So they could be used with 8-speed. The 7 clicks and then one last pull that doesn't click, but the rear derailleur limit screw is going to stop it from going too far. So we could go 7, we could go 8, it wouldn't be technically correct. Oh, one more thing. I almost forgot. I did get these original 600 tricolor brifters from Tomcat Bikes the other day. They have no clicks, which means they're either totally dead or the old grease is just frozen and the pawls are frozen. Guys are always telling me you cannot bring back brifters the same way you can do regular Shimano shifters. I have done it on these. I have filled these full of silicone spray lube and had all the clicks come back. Then I let it sit for 2 weeks, clicks go away, then resprayed it, and then all the clicks come back. And I did it for a customer and told him just to ride it and shift it every day. And if it stopped working, come back and we spray him again. He never came back. So I'm assuming they stayed working and just didn't go someplace else mad. So I do these nice brifters. I do not know if they're 7 or 8 speed. I assume they're 8, but I think they made 7 too. So I might start soaking these, because maybe we will use these, because this would be even more badass on this bike. And they're in really good condition, like as nice as any other parts on here. Nice chrome, the hoods aren't sticky at all, they're not worn out. Man. And we wouldn't have to worry about them down tube shifters, which are real cool in my opinion, but most people don't like reaching for them. They'd rather have the brifters, even though they're heavy and expensive and go bad. Hey, I found a tape measure right as the heater kicks on. Let's see how tiny and ridiculous this frame is. Oof. It's like a 48.5. I'm gonna pretend I didn't call it a 49. It's got like a 50.5 top tube. It's short, man. It's short. 130 rear spacing. Hey, these little adjusters aren't frozen. This bike is tiny. It's tiny. If I were smart, I would sell this as parts. Sell this part separately, sell this frame separately, if I were smart. Maybe some shorty wants a vintage race bike. Start their racing career. So stupid to build this bike up, it's going to sit forever. Little bikes just don't sell. They just don't sell. Whatever, we're doing it to do it, not to get rich. Lego. I don't know, I ain't trying to make no mess. So I got some T9 BioShield lubricant. Waterproof, total, dustproof, blah, blah, blah. It's all words. I like the spray version of this, but it's expensive and I'm cheap. I keep not getting it. I don't know, let's try this old stuff. The spray version, I just put the nozzle down here. I just fill this thing full of lube with this silicone lube that is magically the right stuff to get Shimano stuff working again. I'm just going to spray it wherever I can. Spray lube usually starts working instantly. It's tight. I might go get the spray lube. One of the spray lubes different than this drip lube. Get in there. Get in there. I'm just filling these dudes. Pour out everywhere. Get in there. Almost feels like it's trying. Oh, it's trying. Oh! This BioShield is very expensive. Probably wasting $14 a bottle now or something. Probably using at least $3 or $4 worth on here. Alright, we're going to let it soak for a while. We're going to see what happens. Here's what I was talking about a minute ago. Here's an old RSX hub that feels gritty, but the bearings are just too tight. Here's a Shimano 600 tricolor. Look at that sticker. Tricolors. Shimano 600. So it's basically the same hub, but has the 8-speed cassette body. It's hyper and uniglide, so it's started on the outside, which you can totally ignore. It's the old uniglide lock ring style. And hyperglide, so you have to make sure it comes in here and there's internal threads. And that means it'll take a normal cassette. And I held these dudes up. I held these up to a modern, like 10-speed hub. So the same distance. 7-speed only hubs, I think it's like a 4.5 millimeter spacer, so they're quite a bit shorter. So you can always measure, or you can stick an old 8-speed cassette on something, or 8, 9, 10, make sure it's the right one. So there is a chance that I will be able to use this axle and cassette body, this 600 hub, into that wheel. But this RX1S hub is less valuable, and so I might try it first and see if it'll fit in there. But also, this is really gritty. It's probably dead inside. I'll have to open it up and look. If it's nice inside, if it's rebuildable, the cones aren't dead, and the races aren't dead, I might want to save it. But if it's cruddy inside, then I'll just steal the axle, spacers, cassette body if it's not dead. So hopefully one of these two will work. If not, I might go dig through some of Tomcat's parts bins and see. So while we wait for that silicone lube to do its thing, we're just going to hand rub this bike down. Sometimes we'll hand rub and dry first, get most of the dirt and chunks off before switching to the rag and soap. But you know, whatevs. Guess we'll pop this headset out too. We'll double check on those brifters in a minute to see if they start working, because that would make for riveting YouTubing. But other than that, I think I'm going to stop the video here. It's already plenty long. The next video will probably be on the wheels, because if I can't make those correct wheels work, then I'm going to lose total interest in this project. Or, you know, put some modern all-silver wheels I have sitting around off some old Specialized. You know, some parts that aren't very interesting, some modern silver cranks. Just parts I have lying around for builds. And make this a 1x city bikey thing. God, this has no eyelets. It's not meant to have fenders or racks. Could be a cool summertime bike. Cruiser bars and a little walled basket. So I like to ride my race bikes. So anti-race. So girl's bike. Well, I'll get a little dirt off this thing. So Cafe Cruiser. I'm not going for perfect. I know guys who like wash their bikes with a toothbrush and kerosene and really try to get them perfect and then turtle wax them and stuff. We're just going for looking kind of clean. And we all use parts and scruffy. You can make it look its absolute best, but no one's going to notice or appreciate it. I did just get a bunch of grime off this chain slap sticker that now looks brand new. It says the Paramount logo. You actually read through it now. That's kind of cool. Alright, it's been a couple days. Dripped all the silicone lube in here and left it on top of the dryer in the way. Oh, I hate touching it. I want to see if it's working at all. That clearly sounds to me like it's working. Ha! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 speeds. 8 speeds. Working. This one's working too. I gotta wash my hands and probably wash these hoods off a little bit. But alright, the old, oh, it's almost empty. The old free bottle of T9 BioShield silicone-based lubricant. I feel like I'm back at work at the adult bookstore, you know what I'm saying? Totally worked. It's slimy, it's sticky, you have to wash it off with soap and water. Will not come off on its own. That worked. I really went and looked and ordered some the spray stuff off eBay because I was all bummed. I didn't think this was going to work. I wanted to give that a shot, but whew, it's back on the menu, but I'm having some serious doubts. And I don't know if I want to mess up that wheel set and do all that work to make it 130 for this bike. I don't know if I want to put all the 600 stuff on and make it boring. These drifters make it a lot more exciting, honestly. 8 speed's a lot more exciting than 7. I can use the cassette after doing all that work. And it'll make it seem like a much cooler bike. These are in good shape. Cranks are a little scuffy. Trailers are pretty nice. The wheels are pretty nice. Maybe I'll do all the work. I also have like generic silver road wheels off like a 2000 something specialized road bike that are clean. I have a bunch of just generic silver cranks. I'm like, maybe I should build it up with generic silver parts. See if I can find some generic silver rear derailleur that'll look good. And let's put some flat bars on it and some trigger shifters. Or, make it a street fighter. So I'm ending this video on a weird note because I don't really know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll hold some stuff up to it and play with it and see what we think. I'm going to check the headset. I got that 600 headset. Let's make sure it's ISO and the frame's ISO. If one's JIS, one's ISO, that'd be a bummer. I could put a generic Tonga in or something. So that's my video. I am very pleasantly surprised that these came back and are working. Anyone who tells you that you can't save these the way you can flat bar trigger shifters is wrong. These are cool. Maybe the modern ones you can't. The vintage ones, totally good. I just uploaded my Sunday Salvage Scores video too, and I'm probably gonna, and this one's totally edited except for this, so probably upload it too. So 2 for one day, or maybe I'll do them back to back if I'm too lazy to finish editing this, but thanks for watching.